Other overreach that the Obama administration is contemplating is this, well, something they're calling net neutrality. Is it? Stephen Aaron Gray is my guest, leading libertarian spokesperson, a tech activist, and author of Ant Farm, a novel about what's bugging society. Mr. Gray, welcome to the Voice of Texas.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Well, net neutrality confuses the hell out of me. So I can imagine when folks out here in the audience here hear about it, they're also a little bit fact challenged. Will you tell us what net neutrality is? More importantly, what it is not?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's not really an accurate term. It's sort of a feel-good term that doesn't make any sense. What it should really be called, and I think this would make it much clearer for people, is government internet price controls. That's what's meant when politicians or advocates for it say net neutrality. So essentially what we have, just going back for a minute, is we do have a problem with internet pricing. But the problem is a government initiated problem. The way it works is, in any particular geographic region where you may live, you've got some internet service providers. And generally speaking, the government awards a monopoly privilege to one or two internet service providers in any one region. And as everybody knows, when you only have one or two choices because government awards monopolies in anything, you're going to have bad service and high prices. And because of this now, like the government often does, people are advocating for the government to come in and then control the pricing of this kind of thing, even though this problem is easily solvable if you just remove this kind of government monopoly privilege that gets awarded to internet service providers.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. Right now, and I've had choices everywhere I go in the United States. Sometimes I had no choice at all. There was only one company that was allowed to service internet, cable, all that kind of stuff. They give the illusion of competition by saying, well, there have to be two. And usually you have a choice between poopy and poopier. It's never good. The one service that I really, really liked was Verizon. Fiber optic, just blazing fast speed, very intuitive remote control and menus on TV. But, of course, in my area, I can't get it because, as you rightly point out, government has acted as a benevolent dictator and said, "Oh, you guys can you guys can split this and you guys can split this area, and then you have no competition." What Team Obama is proposing, Ted Cruz, our senator here from Texas, has classified. Well, if Mr. Obama were to get his way, Mr. Cruz says the internet should not operate at the speed of government, and Obama's idea of net neutrality is really Obamacare for the internet. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. But as much as Obama's at fault for this, I don't think it's fair to just blame him. This kind of thing was going on before he was ever in office. It's really the nature of government to award monopoly privileges to many different services. Generally speaking, it doesn't matter if it's a Democratic government or a Republican government. This kind of thing always happens, and I'm sure it will happen with the next president too, regardless of what party that president represents. It's interesting too about what you pointed out about how you'd love to be able to use Verizon Fios. But even that, even if you had that, just to think of the possibilities are endless if you had 20, 30 companies competing for your business the same way you do in other fields that are not nearly as government regulated. Like, you can walk into Best Buy and buy 30 different types of computers. And because of that, the prices are so much cheaper than they used to be. And the quality is so much better as well. This is actually one of the things I deal with in my book, Ant Farm, the fact that the state will come in and create a problem, and then they'll want you to turn to them to solve the problem. And it's just sort of an ongoing cycle.
Yeah, that's true, and that's liberalism. That's a description of liberalism in and of itself. Stephen Aaron Gray is my guest, leading libertarian spokesperson. He's a tech activist and author of that book you just heard mentioned, Ant Farm, a novel about what's bugging society. We cited Ted Cruz and his problem with net neutrality. Then you've got Ron Fournier, the other side of the political spectrum, a liberal. He says net neutrality could be issue that inspires the next revolution in this country, where back in the day when we had the robber barons in control of things, Carnegie and others, where he is rationalizing that once America gets whiff of this sanctioned government monopoly, they're going to revolt against it and demand what you're talking about, an open and free marketplace. And this time the robber barons will take it'll be AT&T, it'll be Time Warner Cable, it'll be Comcast. Do you buy this?
You know, it's hard to say exactly where this goes. One of the things I'm more concerned about is if the government's stepping in now to control pricing. Once they have control of something like the internet, there's no saying exactly where it will go. There's always unintended consequences when the state steps in to control things. So who knows if we're going to start seeing the state control content by pricing, right? Like maybe there's certain websites they don't want you to visit, and so you want to use those sites, they're going to start charging you more money. It's a scary prospect all around, and it doesn't have to be this way.
All right, Stephen Aaron Gray, leading libertarian spokesperson, tech activist, author of this book, Ant Farm, novel about what's bugging society. Sir, thanks for carving out time for us today on The Voice.
Hey, thank you again for having me on.